Today on the No Pillz Podcast, what is the ideal age to get married? You're now listening to the No Pillz Podcast, your best resource for cultivating meaningful, healthy, long-lasting, romantic relationships that bloom into strong marriages. Welcome to No Pillz. Welcome to No Pillz. And that's with a Z if you couldn't tell. Ha ha! Love, fully scripted. We back, beloved. Hope you've been going good. G-Man, your man, God's man, your big brother, Gordon. Let's go. Welcome to No Pillz. No blue pills, no red pills. Your love life is the vehicle. The Bible is the owner's manual, and God is the manufacturer. Get some of that, beloved. We made it back, man. Hope you're doing good. Hope your week's starting off just great, just fine. Some of you that are commuting this morning, I pray that you are in good spirits. Today, we're talking about what is the ideal, what is the perfect age to get married. I think we covered this in part on another podcast, but I was doing some research and some scrolling and some relationship videos I was checking out, and I wanted to circle back, I think, and hit this one again, but maybe, giving it a little bit more attention than in times past. So there's some interesting ideas, concepts out there that we're going to be talking about today. And I wonder how many of you out there are planning to get married. How many of you are not planning to be married at all? Some of you have been talking to me, and I know some of my listeners out there have no intentions or plans of getting married, or maybe don't feel called to do so. I see you. I have not forgotten about you. We're here. I'm here. I'm listening. But I want to start off today's podcast with a funny video. Let's roll that footage.
Are you two a couple? Tough question. Are you two a couple?
Tough question. Come here. Merrily holding hands in public and then saying tough question is a definition of what dating is like in this current generation right now. There are so many situationships, it is almost confusing. Does that make sense? For example, there was a couple, or what I thought was a couple, that stopped me when I was walking on the street. They said, "Excuse me, are you the guy that gives out secret recipes?" And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Oh, thank you so much." And I said, "Yeah, I'm happy that you can share it with your girlfriend." And he looked at this girl and he said, "Oh, we're not together." And I said, you guys are holding hands. And he said, "Yeah, no, we're not together. We're talking." And I said, "Well, how long have you guys been talking for?" He said, 5 years. Come here. There is no conversation in the world that lasts 5 years. Does that make sense? There should be no reason why you can get a college degree before your guys' talking stage ends. Does that make sense? Either you want to be together or maybe you don't.
Talk to them, Jordan. Talk to them, please. 5 years in a talking stage. Listen, in my chat right now, if this is you, if you have been, and this is probably more applicable to females than to males, if you have been in a talking stage for over 3 years or more, let me know in the comment section so we can chop it up. I'm going to speak to you directly. If you've been in a talking stage for more than 3 years, more than 5 years, let me know how long down in the chat so we can help you out down there. So we can give you some good old advice of what you need to do. But this speaks to the generation in which we're in. There is definitely a severe fear of being married these days. Marriage, with the state's involvement, has just taken on a whole new monster. I think there are maybe a way or two to get married without being married through the state. I didn't drill down too far on that to give you more information on how to get that done, but I do know there are some ways, and it may vary by state, to do that if the state is the problem for you. Some of us just have a lack of commitment. We have lack of commitment issues. We just don't want to be with one person. And you should probably tell the person you're with that so they might know and not be waiting around for all eternity to get married. Now, if you're both on the same page and you have no ideas, no desire to get married, then, carry on. But I want to warn you, fornication is a sin. Okay. Having sex outside of marriage is a sin. You guys need to figure that out. Need to get praying, need to make some type of formal commitment before the living God. So you can get that all squared away. Could you imagine talking to, it wasn't even courting, wasn't even dating, just talking. What does talking even mean? When I was in the world, as we say here on the Christian side of things, when I was out there with no knowledge of God, no knowledge of the truth, no knowledge of the Bible, talking was always this elusive, painful, murky, dark, mystifying era, yes, an era that just always led to hurt, harm, hurt feelings. Or was it just me? It was confusion, friends, and nothing good can come out of confusion. You've got to be able to step up and be able to identify what this relationship is that you are involved in. And if you're out there having sex within that talking stage, someone is going to catch feelings. Someone is going to like the other person more than the other person indefinitely. I don't have to guess about it. I'm speaking from experience. I know this is going to, someone tell me I'm wrong. Anyone out here who's been in those shoes, walked that road, you know what I'm talking about. It's just painful and hurtful. So my first advice to you would be do not be in a 5-year talking situation. Do not be in a situationship. You need to be courting. You need to be getting to know someone of the opposite sex for the purpose to be involved in a long-term monogamous marriage with them. Amen. So with that being said, let us now ask the question, friends. What is a good age to get married? Now, there's something out there called the Goldilocks principle, okay? The Goldilocks principle is that most people usually like the middle ground. They like the thing in the middle. You know, you got option A, B, C. They'll usually pick B. In other words, you want the one just right. It says the Goldilocks principle or the Goldilocks effect is the idea that people tend to choose the option that is just right or in the middle ground. Statistically, 28 to 32 is the best age to get married so you don't get a divorce. How about that, friends? 28 to 32 is the best age to get married so you don't get a divorce. This is the Goldilocks theory. Okay, the ideal age to get married with the least likelihood of a divorce in the first 5 years, to be specific. Within the first 5 years is 28 to 32. Now, this is makes a little bit of sense to me. I can understand how that works out. We're going to talk a little bit more about that here just momentarily, but let me give you some biblical ideals as well. In Proverbs 5, verse 18, we find these words, "Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth." All right, Proverbs 5, verse 18. So there's clear indication here that there is some incentive, some understanding, some comprehension on the part of humanity at this age in Earth's history that you're going to get married and is going to be a wife of your youth, not a wife of your old age. And there's some practical things there, right? I mean, childbearing age. You just got to, if you're going to have children, going to have a family, you're probably going to do that when you're a little younger. Another principle we can draw from scripture as to when is a good time to get married. Genesis 2, verse 24. "Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh." The principle here, you might have missed it. Let me bring it out to you so you won't miss it, is that you should be in a place where you can financially, men, support a woman, where you can emotionally support a woman, where you can physically support a woman, a wife. So you have to be able to leave your mother and your father and cleave to your wife. Now, what I've seen sometimes, particularly in the hood, talking to you, in the ghetto, is that we want to get married and then go live under our mother or father's roof. Come on, cut that out. Cut that out. We want to go out here, get someone pregnant, and then move in with our parents and live under their roof because we're so young. Cut it out. Let's do better. We know better. Let's do better. You want to make sure you're in a place. These are two biblical principles. One, wife of your youth when you're younger, And then 2, where you are financially, emotionally, physically stable to be able to take on a family and to support a wife and cleave to one another and become one flesh. You can thank me later. Over on Twitter, I was out here doing some research. Over on Twitter, user at 98th Sad Boy said this: what is the ideal age to get married? Kaz at KVZXXMM responded, biologically 15 years old, socially 26, legally after 18, culturally 24 to 28, economically above 30, logically never. Logically never. Well, Kaz has definitely a negative outlook on marriage. What do you say? And that's already what I've mentioned earlier on. You know, people are just fed up, man. Men in particular feel like there's no benefit for them financially, economically, to get married, in the sense that it jeopardizes. It's a lot of risk because most men today feel that, or a good portion of men, I don't know if most men feel this way, but a lot of men today feel that women are incentivized to get divorced. And I think it goes beyond feeling. I believe the statistics, the facts of the legal system support that reality, that women are incentivized to get divorced. And that is just insane. So I understand the pushback on marriages where the state is involved. I just caution you, encourage you to not forsake spiritual principle and doing what is right and having integrity, and not to be a whoremonger, sleeping around, fornicating, breaking hearts, thinking that you are going to go into the pearly gates and be considered a good person when you are just sleeping around. So you got to get it together, friends. You have to find a solution to your fears and your problems. And, you know, maybe there's something, I don't know, prenups will work for you. Having a discussion with the wife, maybe not getting married by the state, but just in the church and somehow still having the legal support that you need. Because here's the problem, and I've covered this before. If you don't do it per the state, you may run into issues in regards to, well, if you die, will your spouse be able to inherit all monies, incomes, etc., properties, and be taken care of when you travel? If you or her end up in the hospital, will you be able to go in if you're not seen as legally married? A lot of times people don't ask you that. They just ask you, is this your wife? Is this your husband? You say yes, and you kind of are able to go. But on paper, when it comes to owning things and properties and state legislature and everything else, it may get a little, iffy. So be prayerful about that, friends. Do your research, do what you got to do, but do it right before God. Economically above 30, all right? Culturally between 24 and 28, legally after 18, socially after 26, biologically 15. I do love this brother's response to this question. And here's the thing. One size does not fit all, okay? This is just, you've got to realize this. A lot of times we speak in generalities because we have to, but every case a lot of the times is different. Every case is not the same. So let me give you some examples of what I'm saying. Some of you may not have any desire to go to college. Okay. If you're a mom, a woman, you may be of the conviction you just want to be directly a housewife. Okay. You want to be a stay-at-home mom. That's what you want to do. You want to get back to the basics. You want to get your conservative thought life on, and you don't want to be out there running the streets. Shout out to you. And you're probably going to do that when you're a little younger. You want to be a trad wife, a good old traditional wife. Shout out to you again. Appreciate you. I see you. But let me just encourage you that it may be wise for you to pick up some type of trade, if not a degree that would actually make you money. Need to be clear about that. A lucrative degree that you would actually be able to make income to be able to support your family in the event, the unforeseeable event that your husband dies. This is a real world we live in, friends. I was married for almost 20 years and my wife died at the age of 37. And had we had children, that would have been a whole mess. And let's say she was the breadwinner and I was the one staying at home. I'd have been, like, okay, but do I have a degree? Do I have a trade? So I just want to encourage women. I know there could be some discussion about this, like, oh, I don't know if that's good. It's going to slow me down from me. I'm just saying, what do you do if your husband dies? I'm not saying you got to go to a 4-year, 5-year degree, go become a doctor or anything like that. But man, maybe having some type of trade where if you had to go to work in the event of a disaster, an accident, you could do that. Hopefully you would take that well, you will receive that well, and hopefully that comes across your plate in your mind in a balanced way. We don't want to be out here like fools. You know, the Bible tells us that before you build something, you need to count the cost. You need to plan. You need to know what you're being involved in. And it's not a lack of faith to be prepared. Now, I'm not telling you to go to a 4-year school and pick up some degree where there's some philosophy that's going to teach you and brainwash you and have you believe in foolishness or things that are not true or some worthless degree, but you can prayerfully, with a little bit of research, do something that's not going to take too much of your time, but not leave you in a place where you're completely vulnerable to the system or to some other person or persons in your life in the event that your spouse falls asleep in Jesus, ideally. All right, after college, some of you are going to go to college, male and female alike. So it's going to make sense that you would not be looking to get married for the most part, probably to after college. So you've got the person who's not going to college, and then you've got the female who is going to college, or the individuals who are going to college. You're going to be a doctor, lawyer, whatever. You're planning to be in school for quite a while. You're just not probably going to get married at the beginning of college, maybe more towards the end of college or after college is over. So that you may or may not end up in that, ideal Goldilocks age from 28 to 32. You might land there, maybe not. Okay, another consideration. If you don't want children, let's say you can't have children, you're sterile, or you don't have eggs or whatever's going on with you, you just can't have children. That may give you some more time and leverage to get married a little later in life. If so, I would caution you that the longer you wait, the longer you live on your own or maybe even by yourself without a roommate, you may get stuck in your ways and you may not want to marry anybody, okay? But you would essentially potentially have a little bit more time than someone who's looking to start cranking out these babies, want to be young to raise them, to grow with them. If you're not having children at all, you may be on a different roadmap, a different timeline, and that's okay. Like, I think a lot of times we put these constructs out there, these ideals out there, which are good, but we want to put it on everybody. And that doesn't have to be your scenario. So just take that for what it is. Don't put these undue burdens and pressures on yourself because you're trying to have the White House, the white picket fence, and be married and all this other nonsense. You need to be prayerful and see what God has for you and what's going to work for you in your life with your ideas, goals, plans, etc. Just know that you may be missing opportunity, that may not be there later on in your life, or may look a little different later on in your life. If you decide you want to just travel the world at a young age and not get married, that may or may not work out for you long term, or just may look different than if you did it in your 20s versus doing it in your 30s, and that being marriage, etc., relationships. And let me just, remind everyone, let's just be honest here, especially if you're out there sleeping around during that window, may change your outcomes later on in your life. It will change your outcomes. Okay. If you're widowed, another consideration. What if you're widowed? What if you're widowed later on in your life, like myself? Say you're widowed in your 30s, widowed in your 40s, widowed in your 50s. Like you're on a different roadmap. You're in a different scenario, different situation. Okay, so that ideal time for you has potentially passed, but now is the ideal time for you where you are. Maybe a little bit more difficult, maybe looking for different things, but this is just where you are in your life and you cannot control it. Last thing I want to submit to you in this regard is, where is your maturity level at? Okay, how do you know when you're ready to get married? What's a good age to get married? Now, based upon your maturity level, according to the current scientific understanding, the human mind is considered fully developed around the age of 25. As this is when the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex decision-making and impulse control, finishes maturing. Now, what's interesting, around 25 is when that's done, in that Goldilocks era, that statistical number or range from 28 to 32, where you will stay married longer than 5 years, is right there. So it's close, is what I'm saying. It's 3 years off. So you said 25, then by 28, you're ready. Doesn't sound too bad. I think the only thing that may fly in the face of this is depending upon how many children you may want. You may want to get started a lot earlier if you're planning to have a lot of babies, or at least a few. Now, here is a practical way where you can know if you are mature enough or in a place of solid maturity to get married. If you understand that true love is not a strong, fiery, impetuous passion. You've heard me say this before, friends. If you understand that love is not this feeling, but on the contrary, you understand that it is calm and deep in its nature. It looks beyond mere externals, not just worried about hair type, body type, physical type, skin color, this thing, all your preferences, sees beyond mere externals and is attracted by qualities alone. This is a mature type of love. We're saying, oh, brother, I'm definitely attracted to the physical. Let me speak to you about this. In my younger years, where there was no guidance from the owner's manual, very much attracted to the outward, to the physical, with a little bit of life experience. That has changed today. I've noticed that it seems as though the more attractive a person is, sometimes the more difficult it appears to be able to be in a good, healthy relationship with them. Maybe because their options are so high that they are a lot more volatile in their relationships because they find it hard to kind of, lock it in. Everybody's always, I don't want to say the word attacking them, always approaching them, maybe constantly in their DMs, as we would say today. But beauty is not everything, friends. Attractiveness is not everything. I remember hearing that a pastor once said about his wife, who was beautiful, to another pastor, a friend of his. Everyone was, always commending him, giving him props, kudos for having such a beautiful wife. And he was a good friend of his who was telling the story and said, man, he turned to his other pastor friend and said, yeah, she's beautiful. I just wish she was spiritual. You want to be equally yoked with someone. And you want to be able to look past the mere externals and get into the personality, the characteristics, and see if this person is really your person. If they have the values that you need. We have exams and tests, and we measure and give awards and accolades for everything else in the world, it seems like, except for character. You know what I mean? Except for character. Is this a person that has good integrity, morals, values you, loves you? Because, if you find somebody who's really beautiful but not into you, really beautiful but doesn't respect you, doesn't care for you, like, are you really winning? I mean, I think long gone are the days for a mature man wanting to have a trophy wife. I know what's still going on. I know husbands out here still pumping all type of money into their wives to have all these procedures, to put all this plastic into their wives who they want to be Barbie dolls. But the mature man, he looks beyond the mere externals. Love is wise and discriminating. And it is, and in its devotion is real and abiding. If you understand love like this, then you're in the place of maturity where you may want to start considering getting married. Many seem to think that it is the attainment of perfect bliss. And what is the thing? Marriage. If you're thinking that marriage is just an attainment of perfect bliss, if you think marriage is about the ice sculpted swans in the white dress, and the dinner party and the dancing and the ring and everything else you may practice in your culture, you've missed the mark and you are not ready to be married. You have no idea what you're about to get yourself involved in. You don't know if your spouse is going to go crazy. You don't know if your spouse is going to get sick. You don't know all the ups and downs, hills and valleys you may enter into in this marriage. So if you're thinking it's just about, I want to get out of my parents' house, I'm talking to you. I just got to get out of my parents' house. I'm going to marry this guy, marry this girl just so I can escape my parents. If you think it's about money, oh, he has enough money. If you think it's about looks, you're not ready. You are not ready. And I'm telling you that as your older brother, as your friend who loves you, you are not ready. Let me know down in the comment section. What is your ideal age to get married? Your ideal age, not anybody else's, your ideal age for getting married. And also let me know if you are married, what age did you get married so we can have this discussion down in the comment section. I'm Brother Gordon. This is the No Pillz Podcast, Love Fully Scripted. I'm signing off and I will catch you next week.